One of the only verses in the Bible that talks specifically about cross-dressing is in Deuteronomy 22:5, and it reads, "A woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God." This verse seems pretty self-explanatory, but it does lead the reader to ask some questions. What is a man's garment? What is a woman's garment? Is there something historically significant about the context within which this was written? So let's take a look at the Hebrew translation of Deuteronomy 22:5. So you see here that the word that was used for what a woman would wear is visibly different than what the word was for what a man would wear. Now, kali actually refers to almost adornments, jewels, weapons. In some cases, even the word stuff is used in translation, or vessels. And you can see this throughout Scripture. If you look at Strong's H3627, you can see the 325 mentions that this word is used throughout Scripture. Now, when you look at simla, it is much more clearly referred to as a garment, as a mantle or some sort of a covering, something that you would cover your body in, which translates pretty directly to a piece of clothing. As I read this scripture, it just made me wonder, was this originally intended to refer specifically to men wearing women's clothes and women wearing men's clothes? So I started to dig a little bit deeper. Visually, what this brought to mind for me was actually an image of a woman taking up a weapon. So I went to look to see if there was historical context for cross-dressing in a wartime scenario. Now, some would posit that Deuteronomy was written around 1400 BC, which would have been at the end of the 40 years of wandering by the nation of Israel. However, most scholars generally agree that this was written after a period of a long, rich oral tradition, likely closer to between 700 and 500 BC. Now, if you just Google wartime cross-dressing, there is actually historical precedent for this, which would have occurred in the Iliad, or the stories of the Trojan War. The stories of the Trojan War are believed to have been derived from a specific conflict that would have dated sometime between the 13th and the 11th century. But they say that the Iliad actually was written somewhere around 700 BC, which actually aligns it very closely to the book of Deuteronomy. In this story, Achilles' mother visits an oracle who tells her that her son is going to die in battle. And out of fear, she actually dresses him as a woman and sends him to live with a harem of princesses to hide him. There's actually a second story as well regarding this conflict with Epipole, who was the daughter of Trachyon, and she disguised herself as a man to fight with the Greeks against Troy. So why do you think here in Deuteronomy 22:5 that two different words were used in Scripture? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please post a note in the comment below so we can take a look.